Hi, this is the second assessment video for organisational change, COM540, and the focus is on stakeholders. So, this is your second one, the one in the middle, and that's due on the 13th of September. So you've got the session break, the 2 weeks, to get prepared and get this done. So if you've been asked by Central West Innovations Proprietary Limited, provide them, so it's a case study, okay? Just adjusting my camera here, it's a bit bright with that light, sorry. To provide them with a stakeholder analysis and communication strategy for a program designed to increase digital awareness among all small to medium-sized businesses in the Central West of New South Wales. So this is actually based on an actual case study example. Here's a link to a similar organisation that exists, and CSU has a relationship with this organisation. So your task is to help CWI demonstrate the potential for utilising digital technology to grow their businesses and create clusters of engineering and agricultural excellence in the region. So at this stage, that's what they want to do. They want to start to develop these clusters of innovation and excellence, but they need a digital technology strategy to go underneath this, a communication strategy So from informal research, it appears there is a reluctance by many of the business owners to engage in any digital upgrade, mainly due to having no training or awareness of how these technologies can improve efficiencies in manufacturing, processing or agricultural work. So there's a bit of a digital divide. Also, there's a high degree of uncertainty about sharing processes or marketing information with other businesses in the region. This is created by some fear that their identity and intellectual property might be compromised through sharing. So this is a real-life example. So you'll need to identify all the key external stakeholders. So this is a stakeholder analysis that the CWI will need to engage with. So have a look at the Central West region, or have a look at any region where an organisation such as this would have to engage with external stakeholders, particularly with regards to manufacturing, engineering, agriculture. Identify all the key issues for CWI's internal constituents. So the internal people, what are the key issues for them? Consider the potential main points that will be needed to encourage businesses to engage with them. So what are the main points or main ways that you're going to work with these stakeholders to engage them? Provide advice on how CWI can build relationships with key decision makers in the region. So this is relationship building, networking, stakeholder engagement, underpinned by communicative practice, because you're communication professionals. Produce a draft communication plan outlining a goal supported by measurable objectives. So all goals are supported by objectives, and they need to be measurable. So that means they need to be specific, measurable. So they need to be specific objectives. They need to be measurable. So you need to be able to measure when they've worked. They need to be achievable. So they need to be realistic, and they need to be time bound. Strategies and tactics. A template is provided, and I'll put this template in as a guide to what comprises a communication strategy. Okay? But you may wish to use another one. You don't have to use this particular template, but this one will help you. So this is the template that the School of Communication uses. Okay? For all school communication, public relations, and organisational communication projects. An executive summary, which is a plan at a glance. Okay, and I'll provide some resources for doing an executive summary. But it provides the key key findings, key recommendations, key actions. It's on the first page and it's a succinct summary. A situation analysis, so you'll have to actually do the situation analysis where you identify the stakeholders, you identify what their key issues are, etc. An environmental scan, you're identifying the research trends, the social, economic, political and technological, current and potential problems and issues, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So your strengths and weaknesses, your internal ones for the organisation, your opportunities and threats are the external ones. Define important publics. So the publics are more like your stakeholders. So they're your external people. Who are those important people that you need to communicate with? Assess relationships and partnerships. Research channels that define the public use for communicating. So what are the channels that are normally used to communicate? And some of those might be social media, some of them just might be email, some of them might just be the website. But research those channels. What are the organisation's vision and mission? The core principles that guide it. So you want to put something in there. Now your case example has got some information there that you can use. Stakeholder engagement. So continuing on with your communication strategy template. So the theoretical perspective. So for academic assessments, what theory might drive the suggested strategy? So you really have to have the underlying theory that you're learning in this subject, that you've learned in previous subjects, that underpins why you're taking this suggested strategy. Then, as we said before, the goals and objectives, not usually one goal per situation. Objectives, as I said before, must be specific. So they have to be really concrete. You need to be able to measure them. So you need to have measures around them, metrics. They need to be attainable and they need to be timely. And the strategy. Prioritise publics and stakeholders, so they're your external people, and explain how you plan to develop a relationship with the public. Tactics. So they're the more detailed methods about how you'll go about achieving the objective. So your strategy is your overarching more vision and mission, your goals and your objectives, where your tactics are the actions that you're going to undertake. Then the implement and schedule. So this is the timelines, the checklists, etc. Now there's a lot of information in this, and if you're overwhelmed, I'm not surprised. So keep it simple. Use this as a guide. If you've got a better one, use that as well. But if you can put these key components in here, it's really important. This is the guts of your assessment as well, this communication strategy or plan. Budget, it's not required for this assessment, okay? Do not worry about a budget. Now you actually, if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. So monitoring and evaluation is really important. You need to be able to monitor and evaluate your communication strategy. So what tools will you use to track each stage and how changes can be made to meet changed circumstances? So there's a plethora of tools out there for monitoring and evaluation. I probably should mention some. No, I'll keep going. So, marking criteria. I will mention tools for evaluation, etc. when we have our online sessions. Clarity of background, definition of terms, intent, summary and recommendations. So this is more the high level, this is more the what you're going to talk about in your executive summary as well. So high-level critical analysis of all materials, superior arguments, sustained logical and consistent reasoning. So that's that high distinction. So the critical analysis, I've put stuff about critical analysis in before, what critical analysis is, and I'll talk about that when we have our meetings as well. And I also have an academic learning skills advisor coming to talk about this. If you've already done a subject, you'd know a lot about this. Okay, so demonstrate an understanding and critical evaluation of differing stakeholder engagement viewpoints. So you have to look at those different stakeholders. That's that stakeholder analysis. Demonstrate an understanding of potential roles for communication specialists. So you really need to look at this marking rubric to write to this assessment as well, okay? Because the criteria doesn't always match the tasks. But where it comes to the potential roles for communication specialists, we really want you to put that in. So that's about the communication. That's written into the communication plan. And then always we look at the way you write, your quality of written expression, very, very important in a communication subject and a communication degree. To get a high distinction or a distinction, you really need to have referenced very well. It needs to be accurate and consistent. Your academic writing flows, it's precise. You actually use discipline-specific terminology. It's clear communication. Your grammar is correct. There's no typographical errors, etc. So if you have questions about anything, please, as I always say, post them to the assessment discussion forum. If you are reluctant to do that, or you've got a very specific question for me, send it to me in an email to start off with, because if I've got it in writing, it's easier for me to respond. And I can repurpose it to the discussion forum. And if it really all else fails and you need to have a chat, give me a call. My consultation hours are 10 till 12 on Mondays and 3 till 5 on Thursday afternoons. Not the last week of July or the first week of August for Thursdays. I do check all of your work in Turnitin, so if you want to check it before you submit it, that's the enrolment key and the ID. We take plagiarism very seriously at CSU, particularly in communications. And I need to make you aware that we're also looking into contract cheating at the moment as well, because it's rife across the university sector. And for us to maintain our accreditation, we have to make sure that we're on top of this. So make sure that your work is your own work. If you have some issues with if I look like it looks like you've plagiarized, or there's a high match, I'll get in contact with you and we'll see how we can work to actually address it. Okay? But if it's really severe, I will need to escalate it. But let's address these things first. Head them off at the pass before we have any issues, which I'm sure we won't have because you're all communication professionals. So good luck with this assessment and good luck with the modules that run into this, and I look forward to receiving this assessment and your communication plans. Cheers.